Jack Carter stood quietly near the wide window of the alien ship. Outside, space stretched like a dark ocean filled with stars. It was his first time leaving Earth, and everything felt new and strange. The ship moved silently through space, and the lights inside glowed with a soft green color. Jack had never seen anything like it. He was one of the few humans chosen to visit the homeworld of the Valari. The Valari were tall beings with silver blue skin and glowing eyes. They looked powerful but spoke in calm voices. They were not like the aliens in old movies. They were peaceful and wise. Earth had just made an alliance with them, and this visit was a step towards stronger friendship. When the ship landed on Valerian Prime, Jack followed the others down a long ramp. The city around them was bright and full of life. Buildings shined like glass towers. Trees with golden leaves moved in the breeze. It was more beautiful than anything Jack had imagined. The human group was taken to the palace of King Orion. The palace stood at the top of a tall hill with white walls that sparkled in the sunlight. Valari soldiers stood in lines, their armor shining like mirrors. Jack walked behind the other humans, his eyes wide with wonder. Inside the palace, they were welcomed by the king himself. King Orion had a strong voice and kind eyes. He spoke clearly, and his words were full of meaning. "You are welcome in our world," the king said. "We hope your time here will be peaceful and full of learning." Jack bowed with respect. He had read about the Valari customs and wanted to show honor. The king noticed Jack and nodded. Later, during a grand dinner, Jack sat near the edge of the long table. He listened to the talks, but did not say much. He was not a man of many words. He liked to watch and think. He saw that most people tried to impress the Valari, but Jack just stayed calm. Across the table, a Valari woman watched him. She had long silver hair and eyes like bright lakes. She was Princess Kayla, the only daughter of King Orion. Jack did not know who she was at first. He only noticed that she smiled when he made a small joke about human food. After the dinner, Kayla came to speak with him. Her voice was soft but clear. "You are different from the others," she said. Jack smiled. "Maybe because I am not trying too hard. I just want to learn." Kayla looked at him for a moment, then nodded. "That is a good way to be." They walked together in the palace garden. The trees gave off light, and small flying lights danced around them. Jack felt at peace. He told her about Earth, about the oceans and mountains, and the simple things he liked, like fixing machines and walking in the rain. Kayla listened with interest. She shared stories about Valerian Prime, about its long history and the wisdom of her people. She seemed to enjoy Jack's way of speaking. It was simple, but honest. Over the next few days, Jack and Kayla met many times. They laughed, talked, and even worked together on a small energy project the king had started. Jack showed her how humans use simple tools in clever ways. She showed him how the Valari used thought and energy to move objects. The other humans noticed that the king gave Jack special attention. Some felt jealous. One even said Jack was lucky. But Jack did not feel lucky. He felt out of place but tried his best to be useful and kind. One evening, there was an attack. Unknown enemies fired at the edge of the city. Chaos broke out. Alarms rang. Jack saw Kayla running toward the palace gate. A wall fell near her. Without thinking, Jack ran and pulled her away just in time. Guards rushed in and took them inside. The king came later and placed a hand on Jack's shoulder. "You saved my daughter," he said. Jack nodded, breathing hard. "I only did what anyone would do." But the king looked deep into his eyes. "Not everyone would risk their life. You're more than a guest now." Jack did not understand what the king meant, but he felt something had changed. Not just in how the Valari saw him, but in how he saw himself. The stars outside the palace glowed a little brighter that night, and Jack stood by the window, not as a visitor, but as someone who belonged. Jack woke up early the next morning. Sun of Valerian Prime rose slowly, and the light turned the palace walls into soft gold. Jack walked out to the garden, where flowers opened their petals with the morning breeze. Everything felt quiet, but something inside Jack had changed. He was no longer just a visitor. He had saved the princess, and now the Valari looked at him in a new way. The king invited Jack to breakfast. They sat at a round table in a small hall filled with warm light. Princess Kayla was already there. She smiled when Jack walked in. Her silver hair glowed in the sunlight. King Orion spoke while eating, and he saw your act of bravery. Some are calling you a hero. Jack shook his head. I only did what I had to do. I could not let her get hurt. The king nodded. That is what makes it brave. After breakfast, Kayla offered to show Jack more of the palace. They walked through wide halls with glowing walls and silent guards. Kayla led him to a room full of strange tools and glowing stones. This is our learning room, she said. Our people use mind and energy to shape the world. I like learning how humans do it with their hands. Jack laughed. Sometimes hands are all we have. They work together on a small machine. Jack showed her how wires and simple circuits could do amazing things. Kayla showed him how energy flowed through the stones with her thoughts. Jack tried to control one stone, but it only flickered a little. Kayla smiled. You were trying too hard. Let it flow. Jack took a deep breath and focused. This time, the stone glowed bright. He laughed in surprise. Later that day, Jack was called to a meeting with other Valari leaders. Some of them were not happy. They said he was getting too close to the royal family. One of them, Lord Varric, looked at Jack with cold eyes. You are a guest, Lord Varric said. Not one of us. Jack stood tall. I know who I am. I came to learn and help, not to take anything. The king raised his hand. Enough. Jack has proven his heart. That matters more than where he is from. Still, Jack could feel the doubt in the room. He knew he had to do more to earn their trust. That night, Kayla found him sitting alone near the garden fountain. You look troubled, she said. Some of your people do not want me here, Jack said. Kayla sat beside him. You are not the first to face this. Even I have to prove myself. Jack looked at her. But you are the princess. And still, I must show I am more than just a title. They sat in silence for a while. The lights in the garden danced around them. Jack felt calm again. Kayla's presence always made him feel stronger. The next day, the king asked Jack to take part in the trial of trust. It was an old tradition where one had to complete 3 tasks to show loyalty. Jack agreed without question. The first task was to climb a tall crystal tower and bring down a glowing orb. The climb was hard. Crystal walls were smooth and sharp. Jack used ropes and tools from Earth. His fingers bled. But he reached the top and returned with the orb. The second task was to walk through the Whispering Caves, where sound and memory played tricks on the mind. Jack heard voices from his past, some good and some painful. But he kept walking and did not turn back. The final task was to fix a broken energy node that powered part of the city. Jack used both Valari energy stones and human tools. It took hours, but he made it work. The lights returned and people cheered. At the ceremony that followed, King Orion placed a hand on Jack's shoulder. You have passed the trials. You have shown heart, courage, and skill. The people clapped. Some of the nobles now looked at Jack with respect. Kayla came to him after the ceremony. Her eyes were shining. You did it, she said. Jack smiled. I think I am starting to understand your world, and I am starting to understand yours, Kayla replied. Jack felt something strong between them. It was not just friendship. It was something deeper, something real. He did not say it out loud, but he knew. He saw the same truth in Kayla's eyes. Days passed, and Jack Carter's name was now known by many on Valerian Prime. The people respected him, and the nobles began to speak of him with mixed feelings. Some admired his courage, but others whispered that he was too close to the royal family. Still, Jack kept his focus on learning and helping where he could. Princess Kayla continued to spend time with Jack. They studied new ways to combine human tools with Valari energy systems. Their small team completed several projects together which helped power smaller villages around the capital. The people started to see that humans could bring more than just curiosity. They brought solutions. One evening, as the sun set behind the glowing towers, Jack and Kayla sat on the steps of the palace garden. The sky was painted with colors that looked like fire and ice mixed together. Kayla looked thoughtful. Do you ever miss your home? She asked. Jack nodded. Yes, I miss Earth sometimes. But this place feels like home too. Kayla looked at him. Would you ever go back? Jack was quiet for a moment. Maybe one day. But not now. I feel like I still have work to do here. She smiled. but there was a question in her eyes that she did not ask. The next day, King Orion called for Jack. He met the king in the private throne room, a quiet place with walls that shimmered like stars. "Jack," the king said, "your actions have brought peace and strength to my people. But there are still those who doubt you. Some believe you seek power." Jack stood tall. "I never asked for anything. I only wanted to help." "I know," the king said. "That is why I have a challenge for you, one that will test more than your mind or strength." The king explained that a council of nobles would soon gather. They would decide whether humans could be fully trusted. Jack had to stand before them and speak for Earth. Jack agreed. He spent the next few days preparing. Kayla helped him understand Valari customs and noble traditions. Jack practiced his words. He was nervous, but he knew he had to speak from the heart. On the day of the gathering, the hall was filled with nobles wearing long robes that shimmered with power. The king sat on his throne, and Kayla stood beside him. Jack stood in the center of the hall. Lord Varric, the noble who had once spoken against Jack, stepped forward. "Why should we trust a human? Why should we welcome one into our highest places?" Jack looked at the crowd. "I came here as a guest. I had no power, no title, no plan. I only had my hands and my will to learn. I helped where I could. I saved a life not because she was a princess, but because she was a person. I did what I hope any of you would do if you were in my place." The hall was silent. Jack continued. "I do not ask for trust. I ask for a chance. Let humans be part of something greater. Let us grow together, learn together, and build a future that belongs to all of us." For a moment, no one moved. Then the king stood. "Well spoken," he said. "Let the council vote." Each noble placed a small glowing stone on a table. One by one, the stones lit up in blue, showing approval. When all had voted, the result was clear. Jack had earned their trust. Later that night, Kayla found Jack again in the garden. "You spoke with true heart," she said. "I only said what I felt," Jack replied. Kayla looked at him closely. "And what do you feel now?" Jack took a slow breath. "That I do not want to leave, not just because of your people." Kayla's eyes met his. "Then stay. Not as a guest, not as a helper, but as something more." Jack reached for her hand. For a long moment, they said nothing. But the stars above said everything. Their light fell over the garden, and two souls stood beneath of them, finding something rare and real. A new chapter was starting. And Jack knew deep inside that his place was here, not as a visitor, but as part of something that would shape two worlds. The sun rose over Valerian Prime, lighting up the palace towers. Jack stood on a balcony, looking out at the city. His heart was calm, but his mind was full of thoughts. He had won the respect of the Valari nobles. He had formed a deep bond with Kayla. Now he faced the biggest step of all. King Orion had called for a private meeting. Jack walked through the silent halls until he reached the throne room. The king waited alone, his eyes serious but kind. "Jack," he said, "your journey here has been full of trials. You have faced danger and doubt, but your heart has remained true. I will ask you now, do you wish to stay here forever?" Jack nodded. "Yes, I do." The king looked at him closely. "Then I must ask another question. Do you wish to join my family?" Jack felt his chest tighten. "I love Kayla. I want to build a life with her." The king stood in silence for a moment. Then he smiled. "And then you must ask her, not me. But know this, if she agrees, you will not only be my son-in-law, you will also carry duties that are greater than you can imagine." Jack bowed. "I will carry them with all my strength." That evening, Jack met Kayla near the glowing lake behind the palace. The water reflected the stars like a mirror. Jack held her hands and looked into her eyes. "Kayla," he said, "I came here as a guest. I stayed because of duty. But now I ask to stay because of love. Will you marry me?" Kayla's eyes filled with light. "Yes, Jack. I want that future with you." The next day, the palace was full of movement. News of the coming union spread quickly. Many celebrated, but a few still whispered in the shadows. One group, led by a bitter noble named Corin, planned to stop the wedding. He believed humans were still a danger. Jack and Kayla did not know of the danger. They were focused on the wedding preparations. The Valari held marriage as a sacred bond. joined not only by words but by a ritual of light and energy. Jack wore robes made of fine cloth mixed with earth fabric. Kayla wore a dress that shimmered like the sky at dusk. The ceremony was held in the Hall of Stars, a place where the ceiling showed the sky above in real time. As Jack and Kayla stood before the people, King Orion spoke. Today we witness not just the union of two souls, but of two worlds. Just as the final part of the ritual began, a loud sound shook the hall. Smoke rose from the entrance. The lights flickered. Corin and his followers rushed in with small energy weapons. People screamed and ran for cover. Jack stepped in front of Kayla. Guards moved quickly to stop the attack, but Corin shouted, "We cannot let a human rule among us." Jack moved without fear. He signaled to the palace guards, then took cover and called for help on his small human communicator. A group of human engineers and Valari, peacekeepers, arrived within minutes. Jack led them to block the attacker's path. Corin fought hard, but Jack and the team worked together. They used both Valari energy tools and human tech. In a short time, the threat was stopped. Corin was taken away, shouting until the last moment. The Hall of Stars was silent again, and Kayla stepped forward. "Let no one doubt this bond. It stands stronger than hate." The king nodded and completed the ritual. A beam of light connected Jack and Kayla, rising into the sky, a sign of peace and unity. After the ceremony, the people cheered. Jack walked beside Kayla through the palace halls. He was no longer just a visitor, he was family. That night, as they stood by the garden, Kayla took Jack's hand. "You faced fear and still stood strong," she said. Jack smiled. "I had something worth protecting." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Now, we protect this world together." The stars watched over them, human and a Valari, now joined in life and purpose. And far above, ships from both Earth and Valerian Prime floated in peace, guarding a future shaped by courage and love. Months passed since the wedding. The bond between Earth and Valerian Prime had grown stronger. More humans came to visit the Valari world, and more Valari traveled to Earth. Jack Carter now lived full-time in the palace. He'd become both a royal and a leader. People called him the bridge between worlds. He worked each day to help both sides understand each other better. He listened to farmers, engineers, teachers, and young students. He believed true peace came from small voices, not just great ones. Kayla stood beside him in every step. Together they worked on a shared school where young minds from Earth and Valerian Prime could grow together. The school had rooms filled with Earth machines and Valari energy stones. Children from both worlds sat side by side, learning each other's ways. One morning, the king called Jack and Kayla to a private room. His face was calm but serious. "The time has come for new hands to guide our people." Jack looked surprised. "Are you sure?" "Yes," the king said. "I have seen enough war and enough peace. Now, the future belongs to you too." Kayla took her father's hand. "We will carry your wisdom with us." The news spread fast. Jack would now become the official voice of Earth within the Valari court. He was also named Guardian of Unity, a role created to watch over both worlds. It was a title of great honor, but Jack did not care about titles. He only cared about keeping the peace alive. Even those who had once doubted him now stood by his side. Lord Varric, who had questioned Jack before, came to him with a quiet nod. "I was wrong," Varric said. "You have given more to our world than many born here." Jack nodded back. "We all grow with time." As Jack settled into his new duties, another piece of news brought joy. Kayla was expecting a child. It would be the first child born of both human and Valari blood. People from both planets waited to see this symbol of the new age. When the day came, the palace filled with light and song. The child was healthy, with bright eyes and soft blue skin like the Valari, but human features too. Jack held the baby in his arms and smiled. "You are the hope of two worlds," he whispered. The birth brought even more unity. Fear faded. People saw that the future was not just an idea. It was alive now, crying and smiling in the arms of a new father and mother. Years passed. Jack and Kayla ruled with care. They changed old laws, opened new gates, and built bridges between ideas and cultures. Ships flew between Earth and Valerian Prime each day, carrying more than goods. They carried trust. In one quiet moment, Jack stood again by the same palace window where his journey had started. He looked out at the stars just as he had years ago. Back then, he had come as a guest, unsure of his place. Now he was a husband, a father, a leader. But more than anything, he was still the same man who wanted to learn, to help, and to be better each day. Kayla joined him at the window. She held his hand, and together they watched their child run through the garden below. "Do you remember when we first met?" she asked. Jack smiled. "You told me I was different," she laughed. "And you still are." He looked at her and nodded. "And I always will be." The stars above shone bright, and the world below was at peace. Jack had found his place, not just among aliens, but among family, purpose, and love. So the story of one human who came as a guest ended not with goodbye, but with a promise that some journeys lead to the most unexpected and beautiful homes.